Hi everyone and welcome back to another card making video. And today let's have fun with the same design and same techniques, but let's make two different cards. To demonstrate that, I will be playing with products from the July release by Waffle Flower. And once again, they do have a super unique design. This is the Holiday Mousse Die-n-stencil set. You will find both the die as well as the stencil in the pack. You will see how gorgeous it comes together. So anyway, I think that this is my favorite product from the whole release. So it is half of the head of the mousse. And in the set you do get the die to cut it out as well as a couple of stencils. Now on the stencils, what I'm showing you here is that there are writings on top. It is really hard to show on camera, but it says where you can use light, medium and darker shade of color. So I just chose 3 shades of brown and let's start inking. Now I'm working on a grip mat. This is a grip mat by Waffle Flower. It is made out of photopolymer material, just like your clear stamps, and it is really handy to keep your die cuts in place when you are doing your inking. Now this looks black, but it is clear actually, just the backing, the acetate where it comes with, it is black. Now I am starting with distress oxides to color everything, and you can see this is Rusty Hinge, which is my lighter brown. I peel off the stencil and I'm going to shift it to the second area, and this is where I'm going to use my middle distress oxide ink color, and I decided to go with Vintage Photo for that. And as I'm doing the inking, let's talk a little bit about the design and the techniques. So lately I love die cutting everything out of white cardstock. This gives me the opportunity to play with my stencils and my inks and do my ink blending, which is something really satisfying and relaxing for me. So instead of using cardstock or pattern paper, I just cut out everything out of white. Now here you see I moved to the second stencil for another area, and this is the darker shade of brown that I'm using, and it is ground espresso. Sticky the mat is, it holds my stencil in place really lovely, and it is super handy to do. You can also peel off the acetate from the back, which is going to grip the mat on top of your glass mat if you want to do that as well. And once I have all the die cuts ready to go, then I will show you a really easy technique that works every time with all your die cuts to put together a stunning card from white to wow. So I will repeat the same process twice using different dies so that you can see that the same design works every time. Now let's do the detailing. There are the eyes here. I'm going to lift the stencil, add a little bit of glue on the eyes, and then stick the cut out white pieces. I'm just fighting with those tiny pieces to pick them up, put them in place, and then you can place the stencil back in place and you can do some ink blending with black. This is going to give you the detailing on the eyes. So let's peel off the stencil and look at his gorgeous face. Now, you know that in the crafting community, July is all about Christmas. We always have Christmas in July. And I'm actually going with that theme for these two cards today. But mousse can be for any season. It doesn't have to be Christmas. Now, how to turn that die cut piece into a card? I am using a panel which is slightly smaller than the standard card. I am using a color which is contrasting to the cutout, to the focal point, and you can see that instead of inking everything from start, I just started with light green, and now I'm doing a little bit of darker shading on top of it, just to give it some ombre effect at the back. You can definitely start with white if you want, and then ink blend a couple of colors on top of it. Just use shades of the same color and go for an ombre effect. It always elevates the card and you don't have to think a lot about the design. It is going to help any focal point that you stick on top to pop. And you can see how gorgeous it looks already. I have foam tape at the back of my mousse, so I add dimension and I like how it comes outside of the border. Then I do have foam square again at the back of this panel and I'm placing it on top of my card. My card base is white, which gives a lovely finished border all around. And now you can stop here, or if you want you can turn it into looking a really Christmas card. So I'm using this die set which gives you poinsettias. I'm going to die cut a couple of poinsettias and a couple of leaves, and then I did cut out everything from white cardstock and I did a little bit of ink blending on top. So I'm going to put together the poinsettia and this is going to decorate my mousse. So you see I just cut out two poinsettias and I layered them one on top of the other with a tiny foam square in between. For the center of my poinsettia I did use golden cardstock to cut it out. And now let's tuck behind a couple of leaves to finish it off. Now what's left to do is to add a sentiment. You can go with any sentiment that you like, but there is a matching sentiment stamp set which gives you really fun sentiments, and there are also matching dies for that. This is completely optional. If you love splatters, you can definitely go ahead and add some. These are going to read as snow. I absolutely love white splattering, so I always do that. Or you can use gems or pearls to decorate and embellish it. I'm using my contour liner in an iridescent color. So here are some close-up photos on the first card for today. And let's move on and create a second card using the exact same techniques and design. For this card I'm going to play with dies from the Birdie Friends in Winter die set, and I do have the matching stencils as well. So again I'm going to cut out everything from white cardstock and then do my ink blending. Both of the stencils from the set gives you rows that you can use to color in all four birds together. So making the process really quick and simple. So just place the grip mat down, use the negative to help you align the birds in the correct positions, and then peel off the negative and start doing your ink blending. This is going to make sure that you have the birds exactly where they are supposed to, and it's going to make your ink blending super fast. Now I don't want you to be bored watching me ink blending all those different areas, but just use your colors, save the stencil once to go to the next area and move on this way. So with the magic of video editing, here are all my birdies ready to go. I'm going to peel them off. Now the third bird, this one, doesn't have a beak, so I am going to use the dies and cut out one white one, and I will stick it on top, so no problem at all. And let me ink blend that white branch. I am just going to use again some brown shades. And the stencil actually covers up some parts of that branch, giving the look of snow on top of the branch. You can definitely shift the stencil one more time and use some paste if you like to make it dimensional. I'm just going to leave it as it is, plain white. Now I'm finishing off this little bird, fighting with that tiny beak again. Now it's in place and I'm ready to put together my card. Again, I'm going to use the same design as I did for the first card. I cut out a panel slightly smaller than my standard card. The panel again is already colored, it's colored cardstock, and I'm ink blending a little bit of a darker shade on top of it to get an easy ombre effect. Again, you can start for this one with white cardstock and use a couple of shades of blue to create your background. And now let's build our scene on top of that panel. I'm placing the branch at the bottom and I do have a foam strip at the back so it has dimension, and then on top of that I'm going to place the birds in a row. I do have foam squares at the back as well. Now if you want, you can stick the birds having the tail behind, falling behind that branch. I didn't think of that in the beginning, but I think it would give a lovely look. I'm going to show you what I mean in a bit. Now I'm placing this panel with foam tape at the back on top of my card base that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm finishing it off with some white splattering. By the way, this is white calligraphy ink, but you can definitely just be less random and add some snow with your contour liner so that you have control of where it falls. And now here is how it would look if you have the tails falling behind the branch. I think it is probably looking better, but anyway, I do have my foam squares behind all of these birds and I don't want to ruin the card at this stage. I'm just going to leave it as it is, but keep that in mind. Now for the sentiment, I'm just going to go with a ready-made one. I'm just going to go with Fa La La, which I'm going to stick on top. So here are some close-up photos on both of the cards that I made for today. I hope that you had fun, that you got inspired. Don't forget to use the coupon code if you want to shop at Waffle Flower, and you will find everything you need down below in the description area. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I'll see you all next time.